Hello, beautiful souls, and happy Monday to you guys. This is Roxana Dream coming live from my public page under Roxana Dream. If you're watching this a replay, thank you. And if this resonates, I want you guys to share the message. Don't be selfish and keep it to yourself. Share the message. Every time I learn something, I like to share with you guys to inspire and empower you guys to create the life that you're meant to live. So every time, I really do believe that if you do have some knowledge, some good nuggets, you should share with everybody else because it's not cool to keep it selfish. Anyways, today's message is if you do the things that you don't want to do, you eventually will have the time and the energy to do the things that you do want to do. So, and I want to share with you guys a story about this Inspirational Monday. So, this past weekend, my husband and I were helping our girls transition through life, through college life. One of them was moving outside, moving from her apartment to she's moving back home, and then the other one was moving out from the dorm, the university, and she is moving into her first apartment, sharing her apartment with her roommates. So there was a lot of moving. So I was really, really tired from moving around and, carrying boxes and loading up all the boxes in the car. And I was documenting all of that on Instagram videos. I was uploading videos on there. But what I realized is at the end of the day, on the weekend, we had scheduled some time with my husband to review the goals because we have 2 more weeks of the year. We were talking about the hard part, which is the financial goals. And we had a date, and our date was to talk about financial goals. Obviously, we had to talk about, and I was tired. I was exhausted. I did not want to do the date night. I did not want to talk about finances. I was grouchy. I was grumpy. I was exhausted. But you know what? I showed up and I meditated. I meditated because I had resentment. Just my body was tired. I couldn't take it anymore. I was just tired. That's exactly what it was. I meditated. I gave me 15 minutes to myself. I had to take care of myself before I can tackle in the big finances goal. And then the morning of, before I started my day, I had signed up for a gym class. And I didn't want to go to the gym. Again, I was tired. But I knew that if I showed up at the gym the beginning of the day, if I showed up to the gym and I was sending a message to myself that I am important and I matter and I cannot take care of anybody else until I take care of myself. And the struggle was hard. It was really, literally hard just to show up for myself. And I share this message with everybody that I talk to, that the hardest thing is to show up for yourself. We can show up for anybody. We can show up for our families. We can show up for our coworkers. We can show up for our employment. We can show up for our neighbors, our dogs, our cats. But when it comes to us, we don't show up for ourselves. That's the last thing we do, is we put ourselves on a back burner. So when I showed up to the gym this past weekend, I realized that I needed to start my day with myself, taking care of myself. I had to send that message to me. I matter, I exist, and then whatever that was left over, it was to pour for others. And I believe in that. And it's important for me to practice the message, what I teach others, what I teach my clients and my group coaching clients, that everything I do every single day is a reflection of what I do, not only in my life, also in my personal life, as a mother, as a wife, as a businesswoman, as a leader. Everything I do with my health is the same way how I treat my business, how I treat my community partners, how I treat everything I do in my life. So the fact that I want to share this is sometimes we don't feel like showing up. Honestly, sometimes we're just exhausted. We're just like dragging ourselves out. But I'm going to share this with you. The moment that you don't feel like showing up and you do show up, those are the moments that you're going to look back and realize that, you know what, I'm so glad that I did show up. And I use this as an example with our community. It's really hard. Our community, the outdoor community, I talk about, when they sign up for a hike or when they sign up for a walk, I always say that the hardest thing for them to do is to show up for themselves. But if they do show up themselves, is they have overcome the negative talking, the ego in their head, the limiting belief, the self-talk, the negative talk. And once they show up for themselves, and that's the biggest congratulation, they should do that. So going back to the whole thing is, I didn't want to show up to the gym. I didn't want to show up for our financial planning. I didn't want to show up for the date night, but I did. And that's what we do in life. And sometimes we don't want to do those things, but we have to do those things, because when we do those things, the time that we don't want to do those things, at the end of the year, I'm going to look at the end of 2018, I'm going to say, I'm glad I showed up at that meeting. I'm glad I showed up at that planning, goal planning with my husband. We talked about finances, because then we're able to break down how much we're going to spend out going out and how much we're going to be limiting ourselves incoming, what's incoming and what's ingoing, and how we're budgeting. So the fact that we're planning our finances for 2018, because I had a couple projects going on and I have a couple trips coming up in 2000. Hi Rhonda, welcome, good to see you. And the fact that we're planning our finances, I'm talking about finances and planning, doing things that we don't want to do sometimes. So that's what I'm sharing with. So sometimes just planning, talking about the things that are uncomfortable and showing up for those topics that are uncomfortable. And then you're going to look back, look ahead, that you're glad that we talked about those topics. I'm glad that I talked about finances. I'm glad that I talked about money. And money is the hardest topic to talk about in any relationship, in businesses, in a family. That's like the hard topic that people don't like to talk about. And it's important to have those discussions. So the more you have those discussions about money and financial, that you can stick with the goals. You can stick with a plan. We can stick with those plans that you're going to plan for the 2018, or the goals, that if you have that into paper and you know your plan, it won't, if things doesn't go accordingly, you won't have a chaotic drama in your life, because you already have talked about it. You know what the plan is. So some of those things need to be talked about. So that goes into the message. So do the things that you don't want to do. So the end of the year, you are doing the things that you want to do, right? So that goes for any message for anybody, and I'm talking about this also. I'm talking about forgiveness in my Women's Lifestyle community. We're doing a 7-day forgiveness, and I'm sharing my journey about forgiveness as I am sharing my journey with forgiveness with my mother. Okay, I haven't spoken with her for over 5 years. So some of that work that I'm doing for myself, I'm also sharing the journey, being vulnerable, sharing with other people. So that way it helps them doing their forgiveness work. But these things need to be talked about, right? I don't want to do the forgiveness work. I don't want to do, the ego is there, it's blocking me to move forward. But I have to do that, because that won't be the same message I share with my clients, to move forward. That won't be the same message that I share with my community. That won't be the same message that I share with my family. So everything I do, the way I do in my life is the way I treat it. Okay? So I know it's a little confusing. So the whole point is, I had too much green juice. The whole point is, show up for the things that you don't want to do. So at the end of the year, or 2 years later, or 3 years later, you actually get to show up for the things that you love to do. So that's the message for today. So do the things that you don't want to do. Just show up for it. Go ahead and do it. Sometimes we do those jobs that we don't like to do. But you know what? We're working at that job while we're creating the job that we want. Okay? Sometimes we're with a person that we don't want to be, while we're creating those better habits to remove ourselves from that toxic relationship, so we can find a better relationship. So sometimes we have to remove ourselves from that. So keep doing what you're doing, so that way you can find something better, to create something better for yourself. So I hope this message makes sense. And I just wanted to share with you guys the story that what happened with this weekend. I didn't want to show up at the gym. I didn't want to show up for money, finances, talking about our goals with my husband. I was grumpy. I didn't want to show up for anything. I was tired, but I'm glad that I did. I did go to the gym. I showed up for myself. I did go to the date night. We talked about money. We're literally talking about money with my husband. We talk about finances, and I'm glad I did, because now we know what our projection for 2018 is. We know what our financial budget is. We know what the upcoming trip is for me, for my business, and how much I'm investing for my business and how much is coming back. So those are discussions that need to be talked about. So I want to encourage for you guys to have more discussions about this. So whether it's with your family, with your kids, with your husbands, with your spouse, with your business, show up for those things that are uncomfortable to talk about, and write down a plan and put those goals together, because if you don't write it down, it won't happen. If you don't put those plans, projections of plans, it won't happen. So make sure that those are written down. So I think that's about it that I wanted to share today. I wanted to share with you guys today about that. So do the things that you don't want to do, so that way you can do the things that you want to do. So show up for yourself. Do the things that you don't want to do while you're creating the things that you do want to do. That is a message for today. Hi, Sherry. Hi. I was just about logging off. I was just blubbering off. I hope you take a chance to watch a message. And actually, Sherry, I got to talk to you. I'm going to call you when I'm done. I have to talk to you. All right, beautiful souls, and have a beautiful Monday. Monday is my favorite day of the week because I can get so much done on a Monday, and so much work has been done today. So I'll talk to you guys later. Mwah. Hugs, abrazos. Talk to you guys later. Bye.